Artificial intelligence is probably one of the most overhyped, over-exaggerated, over-feared, over-praised technologies that's ever existed. And this is not me saying that it's not going to be something of an importance. It's not me saying that it's not going to be a multi-billion-dollar industry. In fact, it probably already is. But I think AI is not what people boost it because it I guess appeals to people because it has an illusion built into it. It has this illusion that makes it seem like it's something greater than what it is. So here's my contention. Artificial intelligence, ultimately it's just a computer program. It's a computer program that gives you give it an input and it gives an output. It's trained on huge amounts of data, but ultimately what it is doing is fundamentally no different from any other computer program. There are a lot of people who are in AI cults. Maybe they're in a pro-AI cult or they're in an anti-AI cult. There are literally people out there who have killed themselves because they think that AI is going to take over the world and it's going to enslave all people and torture them for all eternity for just because it doesn't, I don't know, whatever. People have all these ideas of what AI is going to do or can do, and of course there are people who are radically pro-AI. It's going to solve all the problems. It's going to do everything for us. It's going to make everything more efficient. The reality is AI is it is a tool that is ultimately no different from any other computer program. That's not to say that it can't do things that other computer programs can't. But let me be clear about this. Firstly, let's talk about the dangers of AI, okay? Is AI going to destroy us? Is it going to fire off all the nukes? Well, it depends on how stupid we are. Because obviously when you're building a secure system, let's say a system for nuclear security, you have a bunch of nuclear weapons and you want to make sure that they only fire when you want them to fire. Obviously, you would be very stupid to build a system that's just connected to the internet and, you just put in a password and fire them. And of course, the nuclear systems that exist in the world, hopefully, but by all accounts, they have air gaps. They have keys you have to turn. They have an analog system that generates a kind of two-factor authentication. They have these fail-safes in place so that if the programming side, and this has nothing to do with AI right now, but if the programming side, the digital side of it fails, then it's not a big deal. I mean, it's a worry. You want to have that working well, but it doesn't destroy the whole system, right? And AI, if we had an AI system for shooting off the nukes or diagnosing illnesses or, making statistical judgments or political judgments or ethical judgments or any of these kind of things, obviously, unless we are extremely stupid, we are not going to construct systems with no fail-safes, right? So therefore, there's no more inherent danger in AI being your digital system that is finding quote-unquote conclusions any more than there's a danger of just having a little computer program that has case statements or switch statements that react to some input with a given output. Okay? What is the danger is not the AI in itself as a computer program, but what is the danger is the AI presents this illusion to people looking at it. That is, AI, of course, might use words. It might use, obviously, it's a large language model. People will disparagingly but properly describe AI as just like a giant, text completion or autocorrect. That's really ultimately what these language models are. But to unbeknownst to many people, to unsuspecting people, that appears like it has a kind of intelligence. We look at human language and we see AI using it and stringing together sentences that make sense, even if they're a bunch of fluff, frankly. But we see that, and it presents this illusion that the AI is doing something that it's not. It's really just, it's symbol manipulation. It is syntactic manipulation. The AI has no concept of semantics, or it has a concept of semantics in a narrowly syntactic way. But the AI, of course, it's not really thinking. It's processing. It's scoping over huge amounts of data. The issue is it appears to us to be something greater than what it actually is, right? It appears to us as if, for example, if you have, if you design some computer system, let's say a simple computer program that if you give it input A, it does B. If you give it input C, it gives D. Basically like a case statement, a switch statement, something very basic, okay? if something goes wrong, you can troubleshoot the program, and you can say, okay, well, this is where we actually gave it an input we didn't really expect, and it actually ended up doing. It went with the elsewhere condition we didn't want it to. You can diagnose what's going on. With AI, it is so complex that you cannot do that. And worse than that, when your AI is doing something that looks like human language, you have this idea that the AI, if it does something you don't expect, if it does something crazy or unexpected, people fall for this illusion that the AI is somehow doing something very wise. It's like, oh, it knows something we don't know. It's producing this output, I don't know. It actually wants to destroy the world because we're the virus, dude. It's gonna like destroy us because that's kind of the issue with AI. It's not really in AI itself. It's with these people who, I don't know, like deify AI to be either some kind of like omnipotent god or this devil that is, they don't look at it what it actually is. It's a computer program that has this illusion on top of it that makes it feel like it's something different than a computer program, and it produces results that seem genuinely creative or generative, but ultimately they're not. I mean, these things are still trained on data. They might be using the data in a seemingly novel way, but it ultimately is. I mean, it's just trained on what it's trained on, and it's easy to manipulate how an AI is going to react. It's only different from other computer programs in degrees of complexity, and the fact that in essence, AI is like, it's almost as if we never have the source code. And I don't really mean the source code, but I mean the way that the AI is actually kind of computing an individual decision. Or even to say decision is wrong on my part, because that almost puts something cognitive on the AI that's not actually going on. So when it comes down to it, this illusion that people have that AIs are something more than that. It's no different from, people using auguries and, taking a bird and, opening it, looking at its entrails and something like that, and using that as a sign of what decision to make. In most situations, AI, I mean, it is just confabulating output, right? And obviously, you can use these systems to solve certain problems in a limited way, but you always have to remember, in order for the AI to actually be truly trained and calibrated, it has to be calibrated. And what I mean by that is, if you're just using an AI in a complex domain and you can't really check the answers, you have no way of knowing if they're valid at all. I mean, a good example of a use of AI that some people have been sharing on the internet recently, there's a kid or a group of people, I think the kid was associated with SpaceX, but there's a public problem where they have these 3D scans of scrolls from the Vesuvian eruption in Pompeii, right? Where, these scrolls, they're not really ash. I don't know, they're not molten in some way. You know what I mean? But people don't actually want to open them because then they think it might destroy the data. However, people have 3D scanned them, and the data is public, and they're trying to find people who can decipher, see what actually is in these scripts. Now, recently, there's been some kind of minor breakthrough. It's not like they've translated them all, but using AI, you can use AI, give it the noise and, give it the noise of that data. And if you try over and over again, changing variables, changing how it processes things, there have eventually been words that have been deciphered from these scrolls, right? And that's a big breakthrough. That's using AI. It sounds like a great thing. But the thing is, obviously, the AI itself is actually not really, it's not really the thing translating. It's really the people there who have to constantly calibrate it and say, okay, well, it found a word, and this word, I mean, we expect it to be Latin or Greek. If it gives a Chinese character or something like that, or more like if it just gives nonsense, we know that that's just nonsense. You can't just magically trust the AI. You as a user have to be monitoring to see, okay, it's saying something sensible. Now, if the AI gets to such a point, it's so trained on this data, you might be able to just feed it all this stuff and it can just instantly translate it into the proper language. But if you never go and actually check, it's gobbledygook. I mean, it's nothing. It's not really doing much of anything. You need the human side. And so what I mean by that is that obviously if you were to just run an AI in some way on these scrolls without ever checking or without ever caring what it's going to output, you are going to get many false positives. You're going to get the AI producing this answer, which you can't explain. You don't really know its programming, but it seems smart. It seems coherent. In the same way that every AI answer, when it's responding in language, it will speak so confidently about something it doesn't know anything about, because it doesn't know anything. It is just a little syntactic, the language systems are just a syntactic manipulation scheme that imitates human language. When people assume that these things are more powerful than they actually are, that's the danger. And even worse, it would be a danger if people were so naive and so stupid as to actually hook these things up to make novel decisions in domains they just are not trained for. And even if they are trained for, you have to still calibrate their unexpected answers, right? And so it almost feels like a computer program that's writing itself. It's producing, it almost, again, I don't want to use words like no with respect to it, because that is a metaphor, but it's almost as if a program that is programming itself by trial and error. And at every step in that programming, you still have to be there to check it. And as soon as it departs from what we can test, there's no way that we have any reason to think it's actually it's doing something sensible, right? And this, in fact, we expect it to immediately depart from solvency, to immediately depart from doing things that are coherent, right? And again, the unfortunate illusion, and this isn't just of AI, this is with other things. You know, I've talked about this with the use of statistics in academia and for other things, or even, frankly, even the use of certain equations in things like physics, right? There's this tendency to take something real and put it in an abstract formula. And you play with the abstract formula, you play with the statistics, and you don't realize that there might be a kind of thing that you perform on your equation that, let's say, is not an accurate representation of what is actually going on in reality. But there's some kind of officialness of that mathematics. It feels realer than real life. And so when you find something really weird in your mathematical equations, you almost want to believe that instead of what you see with your own lying eyes, you know? Or you want to, you know, the use of statistics can be really pernicious because most of the people in academia using it, I've done a good podcast episode on this, most people using statistics in academia, if they're doing null hypothesis testing, by definition they don't know what they're doing, because that entire thing is like it's almost like an accidental misunderstanding in American academia that's become just norm everywhere. It doesn't even make philosophical or statistical sense. But I bring that up just as an example of it still is a ritual that adds a kind of authority to what you're doing that makes it seem a little bit realer. And that's kind of what AI does. It gives this, it feels like something realer than what it actually is. And that's the actual danger. You know, no, don't get me wrong. I think AI is also totally demonic, but that's not for this video. But I will just say, as a tool, AI is not dangerous because what it does or what it can do. It's dangerous because it can have unexpected outputs because we're not properly calibrating it. And much worse, people trust it. It feels like it's something deeper. It feels like it is wiser than us because it is using our language. Using our language as a totally blind machine that doesn't have any idea what it's talking about. And obviously, like, it's so human, and it's pathetically human in a bad way, you know, that people look at AI and, you know, again, they see this autocorrect system, and then they impute upon it not just a deep wisdom, but, oh, maybe AIs are conscious, or maybe AIs are, you know, which that's a whole nother question in itself. And they're not. They're unless they're possessed by demons, I guess they could be. But no, they're not. Like, syntactic computation is not the same as semantics. I mean, it's just the Chinese room, you know, parable, which of course is the most misunderstood parable in the entire world. Maybe I should do a video on that again, because you will never have more Redditors be angry at you, like intellectually angry about something they don't understand, than when you talk about the Chinese room experiment. But either way, that's what I have to say. I think AI. Again, people tell me that I have a technology YouTube channel. I don't know why they say that. So they want to know what I think about AI. I don't think about it. It's not important. Like, again, AI is going to change the way we do some things. Like, there are certain problems that AI can help us solve. It is a threat. for the reasons I said, not because of what it is in itself, but it's a threat because of how people deify it. And again, there are people who, I don't know, it's just pathetic. It's just pathetic how people talk about this. And as I said in my last video on AI, years and years ago at this point, the thing that I worry about it is it's making the internet a worse place. You search anything on the internet and you get nothing but AI generated slop. You know, that has, it has, I think as I said there, it has so little butter spread over so much toast that it is useless, and it's making the internet mediocre. People are using this unironically, like people will submit AI answers as if they're real things. They think about it as if, like, again, they think this thing is a real, almost like a human-esque, like, hyper-intelligence that, like, knows all this stuff we don't know. I mean, just as an example, I actually used AI for the first time ever, only a week or two ago. I'm going to end the video in a second, but I just want to just give my example of this. I used AI for the first time ever 2 weeks ago. I'm always a laggard when it comes to technology, and the only reason I did, I was trying to remember this random PC game I played around the year 2000. I remember, I'll describe it to you, maybe someone knows. So I remember it was a game you could play on a keyboard with multiple players, like someone uses one side and the other uses the other. I think it had pretty good graphics at the time. Again, a PC game. It was a multiplayer. You had a little character that was on a grid. It had hard rock music, and you could like bomb each other. And I think it was a little edgy, if I remember. There might have been some naughty words in it. Either way, I'm trying to think if there's anything else about it. But I was trying to recall the name of this game, and I still haven't. And so I just pulled up the AI, so whatever AI, who cares, they're all the same, and was trying to figure out, maybe this AI has been trained on data from this game. And every time I would describe the game in as much detail as possible, obviously, the AI returns an answer, none of which actually gave my answer. It never said, you know what, I'm not sure, obviously. It is an autocomplete. And so it would confidently tell me that what I actually meant was Bomberman 64 or whatever, and I would say no, and we go back and forth. Again, I'm personifying it. Look at, I'm just as bad as everyone else. The AI would generate some guesses, totally not just to confabulate an answer, not because they actually matched, but because maybe they matched one thing, and it would confidently say in English, it would create this human-esque a series of words that, would sound good, but it was meaningless, and that is kind of AI. That's not to say it's not useful. It can be very useful, but people just need to remember what it is. It's nothing. It really is just a very complex case statement that you don't really understand everything that's going on, and it's making the world kind of a boringer place. It's making the internet a more boring place. Stop using this thing. Stop talking. It's even worse when I read an article where someone is someone's trying to make a point, and then they bring in AI. This is what the AI says about this. It's who cares? Who cares about this? Anyway, that's the end of the video. I'm going to do one on the Chinese room experiment, though, so...